Hey, this is Gina Grad.
Hi, this is Teresa Strasser.
Hi, everyone. This is Mike Errico.
Hey there. This is Casey Cavalier.
I'm Rocky Rose.
And you are listening to The Jay Franze Show.
Lucky you.
Welcome to The Jay Franze Show. A behind-the-curtain look at the entertainment industry with insights you can't pay for and stories you've never heard. Now, here's your host, Jay Franze.
Well, hello and welcome to the show. I am Jay Franze, and this is your backstage pass to the entertainment industry. This week, we get to talk with a country music recording artist. We get to talk with Kyle Fields. We'll talk to him about how a gift from his grandmother started his career, what it was like to make the move to Nashville, and we'll discuss his run-ins with Post Malone and Pam Tillis. Now, Kyle, he's a great artist and an all-around great guy. He just opened up for Kid Rock in front of 32,000 people, and I can't wait to talk to him about that tonight. So, if you would like to join in, comment, or fire off any questions, please head over to jayfranze.com. Now, let's get started. Kyle, sir, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am fabulous, sir. I'm looking forward to this. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we can make it happen. And I am looking forward to talking to you for the next 6-7 hours.
Yeah, I got the coffee brewing over there, so I knew it's going to be a long night.
There you go. All right, buddy. Well, let's go ahead and just jump right in.
All right.
Can you tell us about the guitar that your grandmother bought you and how it sparked your career?
Yeah, I was about 13 years old, I think, when I first got it. She got it for me for Christmas, and it was a cheap little Fender guitar is all it was, but I love that thing. And I learned from a guy in our neighborhood, well, a couple of them actually, that play guitar, and they kind of showed me the basic beginning chords, G, C, and D, and E minor, and you can play almost about any country song there in some form. And so just learned those and started basically looking up easy stuff, 3-chord songs, and then trying to add more chords to the repertoire and scales and things of that nature. So I think I was 13 when I got it, and she was always very supportive of me musically, and she was a big part in putting me in direction to do this. So very thankful for her.
So was that the actual start, or were you dabbling before that?
I'd always kind of sung ever since I was a child, honestly. But yeah, I mean, I would say that was the first actual wanted to put time and effort into it and, develop a passion for it. That was definitely the beginning of that. But I mean, my uncle Dean, he always played guitar. And then my great grandpa Fields, he was always banjo picker. And so, I mean, I've always grown up around music. And then my aunts, they all sing great. My mom's a pretty good singer, and sister's actually pretty good. But yeah, the whole family is musically inclined. So, I mean, I think I was going to pick it up at some point, regardless, just being around it. My mom used to have an old karaoke machine, and when I was like 8 or 10 years old, I mean, I would sit there and sing Merle Haggard songs on karaoke machine when I was 10 years old. So.
And this was in Greenup, Kentucky?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
What was it like growing up there?
It was great. I love where I'm from. Pretty rural place. Grew up playing outside, and everybody fished and hunted. And, a lot of people played guitar in high school. Just raised hell. Did all the things you do in a small town. But yeah, I love where I was from. It was it's part of who I am, and grateful for growing up around there.
Well, you say that the people played guitar and sang in high school and stuff. I know you're a solo artist, but did you participate in any of that while you were in high school?
Oh yeah, we would take, numerous people would take guitars to school, and we would just jam, like on lunch break or in the PE class whenever everybody else was running or something. There'd be a few of us up in the bleachers and just But yeah, I mean, I went to school with a lot of guys that played guitar, and we would all just kind of jam and stuff. And I think it was my sophomore or junior year, we started a little band, being a few buddies, and we never really did a lot of gigs or nothing. I think we did one or two maybe, but it was more about just having fun and learning songs. You know, we'd get together in another buddy's garage, the drummer at that time, and we would just jam on country songs and Southern rock, Leonard Skinner, you know, Marshall Tucker and all that stuff. And yeah, I pretty much started like with bar sets, learning kind of that stuff that you would do. And yeah, I think that was a sophomore and junior year.
So then you moved to Nashville in your early 20s, and coming from a rural place in Kentucky, what did that feel like for you?
It was complete culture shock, honestly.
Right.
It was crazy, honestly. I moved down here when I was 22, and I was working at the time. I was working for Cintas. They do like uniforms and all the stuff, mats and all this for these big. And I'm sure a lot of people's familiar with that. But yeah, I worked for them originally in Ashland, where I started, and then I moved down here, transferred to Nashville, and total I was here 9 years. But the reason I say that is because I was having to skip routes whenever I moved here, so I covered vacations and sick times, and they kind of like, yeah, we're going to let you ride with somebody for 2 months, and you're going to get to know the area and all this stuff. And that was complete bullcrap. After about 2 weeks, they were like, here you go, take this
You're
truck
on your own
and go to downtown Nashville and go to the 18th story of this building and go drop this stuff. And it was just like, it was wild for a few months. But yeah, it's definitely a lot different, you know, from what I'm accustomed to growing up.
So how long did it take you to get used to it?
I still don't think I'm fully used to it. I get road rage pretty bad out here, but no, I would say after probably about 2 years comfortably, I started meeting people and got familiar with the area, and I enjoy it. I love Nashville. I hate the amount of growth that has happened down here, and which is good for the city, you know, but I live about 35 minutes outside of town, and kind of where I'm at, more rural, kind of reminds me more of home. So I love where I'm at, but the first few years I was in town, I lived in various parts of town, but you could not pay me to live in city limits of Nashville anymore. I just would never do that. I still go down there, you know, 4 to 5 times a week, but I like going in and getting out. So
Sure. What area of town did you move to?
I'm out in Lebanon, Tennessee now, out in Wilson County.
All right.
35 minutes down 40 there. I know you're somewhat familiar with the area. You lived down here for quite a while, didn't you? Yeah.
I lived there for 20 years. Wow. Started off in Bellevue and then Murfreesboro.
Oh, wow. Cool. I lived in Antioch. That was an experience.
That was rough.
Yes. Felt like it was 8 Mile or something.
Right. That's what it's. I don't know. What year did you move there?
It would have been 2012.
All right. I moved there in 99.
99? Okay.
Yeah. When I moved there, it wasn't all that bad. The mall was still there, but they eventually closed the mall just because of all the trouble that was going on there. It was kind of crazy.
It was empty basically the entire time.
Yeah. So now you move there and you're in that area, which isn't that far away, but with, like you said, with all the congestion and stuff now, the traffic, what should be a 10-minute drive takes you about 30 minutes.
Right.
You said you go into town a couple times a week, and that's because you're playing in town. You play at Losers a lot.
Yeah.
What do you like about playing at Losers?
That was the first gig that I got when I moved to town. It's called Swinging Door Saloon on 4th. And then, you know, they've always had the Losers there in Midtown. But I love playing there. It's they've always treated me well, and it's a good place to be where it's so close to Music Row. There's a lot of cool stuff that happens there at the Midtown. I do Thursdays there at the Midtown, and it's always something interesting going on over there. I've got to meet some really cool people, and Post Malone was in there last Thursday, and got to hang out with him and make friends with him. He put his number in my phone and all this stuff. So that's what's neat about playing over there is you never know who's going to stop in, and they're just in there to drink and have a good time and listen to music, and they're usually pretty cool. I met John Daly over there, and I like Losers in particular because I've played about all those down there over the years. I've done the stage, I've sang at Tootsie's once or twice, Alan Jackson's and all of them, but Losers kind of always, there was a few places down there that I played that they're very strict on the set list and things of that nature. I've never liked doing that. Yeah, it is, and I just never liked doing that. But they've always gave me kind of free range to do what I kind of want to do. You know, they encourage you to play a few originals. They encourage you to keep it country, which is, you know, obviously my realm of things. But they encourage that, and they've always treated me well, and that's why I enjoy playing there.
Well, Midtown's pretty cool because you get more of the locals than the tourists. And like you said, you get people who are in the know, like Post Malone coming by. But It's my understanding, too, that you also do a residency for them out in Vegas, right?
Yes. Yeah. I've just got back 2 weeks ago, I think. But, yeah, I started doing that, I think, in 2019. And that's obviously another perk of playing for them is you get to go out there. But, yeah, I love going to Vegas. It's a good time.
What's different about going out there with them versus being in Nashville?
Well, it's definitely a different setting, you know, like I always liked going to Vegas just because it was like I don't know, it's just like its own thing, you know, but like in terms of the crowd, honestly, they're pretty much the same, you know. They like to come in, sing and dance, and you know, you get a lot of country music goers in there because it's inside of MGM. So, I mean, it's a very big hotel. You get people from all over the country, all over the world. But it's different because, you know, Nashville, it's like Broadway's become like so much music that, and Vegas has a lot of music, but there's so much that I think people, honestly, it doesn't matter how great you are. If you're downtown, and you go to 10 bars, and each of them 4 floors that
each floor has a band, and yeah.
And it's like, I feel like as opposed to that casino, really you're walking through and like, unless they're going to a show or something that night, you're really the only thing going on. So I don't know, it's a different thing, but as a city, to me, Vegas I always wanted to go there just to see what it was like. And it's truly a unique place. You know, it's like, I've always said that they're like 10 to 12 years like ahead of everybody else. Like everywhere I go anywhere, it's like, but like, it's a crazy town for sure.
Yeah, I did a 6-month stint there myself, and it was great. It was a blast. I mean, I don't think I would want to stay there, but knowing that I was only there for a short period of time and going out there, it was pretty cool. Yeah. I took in everything I could take in between every show. I would take in other shows and try to do other things, and it was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like I said earlier, you moved to Nashville in your early 20s, and you started in that scene down there. What kind of challenges did you have out of the gate to break into that industry?
Pretty rough, really. I mean, it was just kind of, I was working, you know, and doing the Centoffs gig there, and like, I would just have to, I finally got to where I was doing consistently 1 or 2 gigs a week, and I started out, and I still have that same slot there, but started doing Monday nights 10 to 2. So I would do that, and then I would get up the next morning and have to be at Centoffs at like, you know, 6 o'clock or something. So it was just kind of tough to balance the two, really. And I started shifting into recording and writing and putting an album out. And then that's finally like whenever I decided I need to dedicate my time and effort on this.
So that's when things started to take off. What was the first sign of success?
You know, just in the moment, you don't think about it, but just getting a gig down there and a consistent one, I mean, that would probably be one of the biggest things that helped me. But probably the first thing that I was like, really get serious about this, you know, pursue my passion would be when I released the album, it got up in the top 20 on the iTunes country charts, and then it reached the top 20 on the Amazon music charts that same week. So, and just got a great response, you know, from people. And I've always enjoyed writing songs and performing and singing. That's always been, like I said, ever since I was a child, that's always been really deep down, I think, what I wanted to do and knew I was going to do one day. So,
Well, let's talk about that first album for a minute. What was the inspiration behind it?
there's kind of a lot of different things, honestly. It's, there's some songs, there's some drinking songs on there, you know, a couple breakups I went through and drinking and all that stuff. A couple songs on there. There's a song about opioid addiction, which affects a lot of people back home in the tri-state area that I know and stuff. And there's a song about Conway Twitty on there, a song about missing Kentucky. But yeah, there's kind of a lot of inspirations. That's just during that time, I was just breaking into writing and really didn't know what I was doing at the time. But everybody seemed to like it, so that was good.
When people talk about putting their first project together, they often talk about the writing process being up to a 10-year period of time for their first album.
Right.
And then their second one needs to be put out right away. So they don't get to spend as much time writing it. So
Yeah.
how much time did you spend writing this first album?
I would say probably before I went in and finalized it, a couple of years, you know, getting all the songs wrote. But that one, I kind of just, again, I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. And I just would co-write with a few people, and then I'd write a lot on my own down here. And then if it was like a song that I was like, I think that one needs to be done, you know, I'd go in and record it. There wasn't really no particular, you know, a lot of people put songs together, an album together to say, oh, it needs to be the same theme or concept or whatever. But I never really did that. I mean, I just thought if it was a good song, it should be recorded.
Well, tell us the difference between your writing process when you're on your own versus with a co-writer.
Well, if you're on your own, I think it's a lot more personal. Most of the more personal songs I've always wrote has been alone. And then I like, you know, doing it both ways, but I enjoy having another songwriter there that you can bounce ideas off, or they have an idea or something, or they've got the title. And I definitely enjoy doing that, and you get to know people. And I always like just getting to know and talk with people. And that's always been one of my favorite things about the co-writing process.
So living in Nashville, being a songwriting town,
Mm-hmm.
they usually have a very strict schedule when it comes to writing songs. So when you're writing with your co-writers, are you following that system where you go in the morning, you write with people for a few hours, or you might go into a publishing house? How are you connecting with these co-writers?
Yeah, I've never been like in a publishing house or nothing. Honestly, most of the people that I've wrote with down here are really just other musicians and buddies, you know, that I've got to know playing gigs with or met playing the same bars and venues over the years. So usually if it's somebody I asked to write, it's somebody that I've became buddies with. I don't think I could ever do what they do down there on Music Row and just, you know, they'll show up and meet somebody for the first time and then 3 or 4 people in a room, you know, just
Right.
like, I don't think I could ever do that. I feel like it has to be a personal relationship, that if you're going to write with somebody and somebody that kind of knows you and kind of knows what style you like, or, you know, their styles, vice versa, you know.
I think if you write with somebody you know, it also helps because you're more open. You're probably a little bit more laid back and free to share your opinions and your thoughts without, you know, feeling like you don't know what the what the other person's going to be like.
Right.
So it's just
Yeah,
that
for sure.
comfort.
Yes.
So when you're writing these songs with your co-writers or even on your own, how important to you is the storytelling process, seeing that it's country music?
That's always been very important to me. I mean, that's always kind of been the realm that, you know, I've stayed in. But I feel like the kind of music I do. I love the fiddle and steel guitar, and I've always wanted that to accompany my vocals and be more the sound I've leaned for. It kind of represents, an area that I come from too. But it's important to me. I mean, storytelling is one of my favorite qualities in country music. The instrumentation, the storytelling, but that's what made all these iconic songs, it's just real stories and just straight up, country. They don't try to get real fancy with it. They just 3 chords and the truth, as they say, Yeah.
Well, story is the heart of country music for sure.
Yes,
So
sir.
you're putting these songs together, whether you're writing them individually or with a co-writer.
Mhm.
And when you get to a point where you're ready to take them into the studio, are you doing it in Nashville or are you doing it back in Kentucky?
Well, both. Jason's got his place. I know that. I think you've been there, haven't you?
Yeah, Jason Hale, he was on the show a while back.
Yeah.
He plays bass for you on occasion.
Yeah.
And he's got a studio in his area of Kentucky,
Yeah.
which is, again, out in the boonies. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
I liked it because it had a really cool vibe, place you'd want to hang out.
Oh yeah, it's really cool. I love going over there. But yeah, we'll cut a lot of stuff up there, and then most of the album tracks I always do, I'm cut down here, and I hadn't really recorded anything for about 1.5 years now, 2 years, like Nashville, stuff. But we're actually going in next Wednesday and started working with a guy that John Brenos. I started working with him and over at Farmland Studio. He produced the last 2 singles before the most recent one, but I like the Nashville recording style and just the amount of players the quality of players, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But, I had Brent Mason on a lot of the guitar stuff on the second album. And then I got Miss Janae Flinner on this upcoming session, fiddle player, and she played on a couple other tracks for me. But just having people like that are so seasoned and veteran in the studio, and they came up with all these iconic licks that, which Jason he's a great session player. He's played on a lot of great stuff, but it is,
It's just a different world.
Yeah, it is. And I've always preferred just to do the session thing and just let you get that.
Brent Mason's probably considered to be the #1 guitar player, session player in Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
So he's definitely sought after. He's known for that finger picking style and that chicken picking.
Right.
So when you're doing that, you're going in the studio with the guy who's producing, what's his name, the guy who's producing your record?
John Brenos.
Okay, so when you're going in with John, is he the one selecting the musicians for you?
Yeah, pretty much. He got those 2 singles we put out last year was You're My Natural High and Willie's Roadhouse. And it's basically that same crew that played what is to the T, the exact same crew that was on that. So, but yeah, he picked them out. And I mean, whenever, I saw Janae on there, I just was like, yes, because she's a badass.
Oh, yeah. So you go in the studio, and you said it's done the traditional Nashville way. So you get the core group of people out in the room at one time, and then they perform the record as a whole, or the song as a whole.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we'll talk about kind of what we're thinking here, and but we'll listen to it as a group collectively, and everybody's got their charts and
Make notes.
I'm sure you said, yeah, I'm just making notes, and then they go in, and usually those guys and girls that are session players down there, they can just, I mean, it blows you away. They just come up with something off the top of their head like that. And it's like, man, like it's a different breed of musician, not that they're the technical part of it, that there's other people that play live that are just greater players, but to come up with stuff like that on the fly, it's always amazed me to watch those professionals just do that.
Well, it's pretty cool. You get those guys, you hand them a chart, and then they go in the room after only hearing like 30 seconds of the song, and they go in the room, and like 3.5 minutes later, they actually have a finished product that's done and ready to go. It's definitely an impressive thing.
Oh yeah.
So when you're in the studio with John, what kind of style does he have?
he's done all kinds of stuff. He's working at a studio over there in Farmland, and I met John through a mutual friend that we had, Jeff Buell, and he's a musician, steel player, he's a singer, he does it all. But I told him I was wanting to, get back in the studio and looking around for some different places, try something else. And he told me that he had a great guy that he'd worked with in the past. So I went over there and recorded some acoustic stuff with him. But I mean, I think he's kind of done a lot of the modern country stuff. He's done a lot of rock, and he's very well rounded. I don't think he's really in one box, but he's great to work with. He just he lets you be creative, and I like really working with him, like just mostly because of that. He lets you do what you want to do, and he gives great advice, and he'll chime in and say, maybe you should do this, but it's great to have somebody have feedback, and bounce ideas off of.
Well, it's cool to have somebody you can collaborate with that's open to your ideas, and like you said, you're able to bounce things off.
Yeah.
But Farmland Studios itself, what did you like about working there? Because, I mean, it's probably a small to mid-sized studio. It's more of a vibey type place than some of the other studios in Nashville.
Yeah.
What did you like about that location?
Just honestly, the first time I went over there, I wanted to go check it out and stuff. But kind of, you said, like, the vibe of it's really cool. It's kind of over there by Belmont, right by Belmont, and it's an old house pretty much is all it is. But
Right.
It's like I'd rather cut somewhere like that, honestly, than, you feel comfortable when you go in. And I've cut some of the best studios down here I've cut in, and sometimes in that setting, it just feels more like you're coming in and cutting a demo, basically.
Yeah.
Kind of, let's get it in, let's get it out, and here it's kind of like you're hanging out, you're talking.
Yeah. It's like, it's the connection, the vibe, it's the whole
Exactly.
thing. You get to spend a little bit more time working on stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's funny how you mentioned it's in an old house. Music Row, right there at the foot of Belmont, is just two streets. You go up one way and then back down another way. And it's nothing but old houses. And now, granted, they're starting to take them away, but they were just all record companies, recording studios, publishing companies, all in their own little house. So when we say house, it's still a fully functional studio, and it's the whole area. I mean, that's what Nashville was known for. And unfortunately, with the influx of people, that's starting to change.
Right.
People are starting to go over to Berry Hill. Have you been over to Berry Hill yet?
Yeah, I have. I've cut over there at Larry Beard's place once. And I know there's a few good studios out there, but seems like that's more the area of town where more and more studios are popping up and people are going, for sure. I mean, like you said, the Music Row, it's definitely changed a lot the last few years.
Yeah, a lot
There's
more
not nearly
apartments.
You're right. Yeah. As if they don't have enough of them.
They're taking away all of the studios and publishing houses and record labels and putting up apartments. But Berry Hill's pretty cool. I mean, they're considering that the new Music Row. And I don't know if you had a chance to work over at Blackbird yet, but that's John McBride's studio, Martina McBride's husband. It's a beautiful facility, and I mean, they've just got some amazing studios in that building, and some great people. But that's what Nashville's all about. It's meeting those people, it's working with those people, and so on. So it's an industry, it's a business. It's definitely something that is, in Nashville, it's truly a business. So with that said, have there been anything that has surprised you working in this industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's Nashville's a blessing and a curse, really. I think it's necessary. I think if you're serious about long term,
right,
like being in the music industry, but you learn so much being down here. I think just being around people that have been here for years, and you get so much insight. But like, you learn how, like, the songwriting process works. You get on there, you learn how to register songs, things of that nature that back when I was in Kentucky, I didn't have it. That's like a foreign language to me.
Right.
And now it's like, oh yeah, we wrote a song. I need to get on here and get this turned in. get everything registered. So, but yeah, just getting familiar, and then being here, I've missed home very bad, since I've moved here, and I hate I can't get home, but as often as I'd like. But just being on Broadway, even I get burnt out on that sometimes. But it's like it's truly the best place that you can go and learn how to entertain a crowd and build your chops up. Just get comfortable of doing the elements, but yeah, I think Nashville's a unique place. It's still, I gripe about the growth and all that, but it is still Music City. There's a reason everybody comes here to record, and the best players and songwriters, everybody comes here.
Well, you talk about playing at Losers and up there in Midtown, but you're also talking about Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
What has been the biggest accomplishment so far?
Man, I've been pretty blessed lately. Honestly, I've had a lot of great things happen, and I mean, the last few months, I've been at this a long time. I've definitely thought about hanging up, but like we did the Rock the Country thing there.
32,000 people opening up for Kid Rock.
Yeah, that was like probably the moment that was definitely the highlight, that I'll never forget, just being on that stage.
What did that feel like? You walk out and see that many people staring back at you.
It was insane. And like, I hardly ever get nervous anymore. I've played bars for years. I've done college bars, dive bars, VFWs, restaurants. I mean, I've played every type of venue that you could possibly play. And you kind of just get accustomed to it and get used to it, and I always enjoy entertaining people. But
I first saw you at Laurie's Roadhouse opening up for Clay Walker, and that was a large crowd.
Yeah.
But man, 32,000 people?
Yeah, it was crazy. The second, we were the only band that got to play 2 days, and I played Friday acoustic. And then Saturday I had, Dawn and Derek and Chelsea and Jason and Mark with me. But that one, the acoustic one, I walked out there and I felt my stomach just like turning, and I was like sweating. I was honestly getting like really like, and then I walked out there and started singing, and then, I'm from that area. So I looked out in the crowd and I saw a bunch of people I knew and just had a lot of support.
How could you pick out people you knew from 32,000 people?
Well, there was a lot of them that, they've supported me throughout the years, and they've been at gigs, and they made a point. I was the first band on stage. They made a point to get up there in the pit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be getting to do the things I do, if it wasn't for the support of people like that. And I looked out and saw quite a bit of familiar faces, honestly, but it was really cool. And after I started playing, everybody was singing along. There were a few people singing along the originals. And then after I got off stage, it was just like, wow, like I had a surreal, I kind of was lightheaded. I swear it was like an adrenaline rush, and it gets you hooked for sure. I mean, the very next day though, after we got that out of the way, after the acoustic was done, I was like, all right, let's just go have fun now. And with the band, it was look over and all your best friends are over there with you, and I was so much more laid back and relaxed the second day. But
so more nervous doing the acoustic set, more comfortable when you're up there with your buddies doing the full band. Which did you prefer performing?
There were highlights of both. It was really cool, but to stand on stage with your friends, my band, that'll never get old, but that was probably my favorite, of the two, but also to stand out there with a guitar and hear 30,000 people, whatever, sing along with you. That's a feeling like just you and a guitar and them. That's an indescribable feeling. Like I don't know if I'll ever feel that again. That's a lot of people to do. Like, I hope so, but.
Wow, we go back to it. That's got to be one of your biggest accomplishments, I would think.
Definitely, yeah. In terms of live, there's no comparison. But got to do some cool stuff lately. Open up for Diamond Rio there and Clay Walker, and we're opening up for Tracy Bird here a couple weeks. And some of those guys are people I grew up listening to. I love 90s country music, and those three were three of my favorites, and get to share the stage with them is just, it's a complete honor, and it's surreal, honestly.
Where are you going to open up for Tracy Byrd?
Up in Ashland, Kentucky again. Their big 4th of July firework festival thing, but it should be a pretty decent crowd there too. I think they usually get 23,000, something around that ballpark for that. So
I got to work with him once. I worked in Nashville for a guy named Bob Bullock for years, and one of the projects we did was Tracy Byrd, Watermelon Crawl, and all that. It was really cool.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, speaking of things like that, you talked about Post Malone earlier. What kind of collaborations have you had, and what kind of collaborations would you like to do in the future?
Really nothing in the studio yet, honestly, but Post was super cool. I mean, he's the most down-to-earth guy I've honestly ever met. Like, he was very supportive of me that day, and when I got done, he was like, "Man, come over and hang out," but he was singing and dancing, requesting songs, and he's like, "Man, come here and hang out," when we got done, and I got to go over there and sat there and bullshitted with him for probably 45 minutes, and he took his phone out, and he's like, "I want to check your music out," and he downloaded all my music there in front of me, and then he said, "Take my number, I want to jam," and I was like, "What? Is this happening right now?" But then he put his number in my phone, and I texted
There's
him.
your future collaboration right there.
I hope so. I'd love to work with Posty. I respect the heck out of him. He's an all-around musician. Like, he's very versatile. He does about every genre, but I'm excited about his country album. But yeah, getting to meet him and get close with him and his camp there last week, I talked to his manager actually today. So, but yeah, they're great guys. Like, pretty cool to be, and somebody that big, just to be that down to earth is just, I mean, he's truly like super down to earth. Probably the nicest guy I ever met.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, with all the times I spent in the studio, you meet so many people, and when they're super nice and down to earth, that's when it's the best, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And it's when you get the best work out of everybody as well, not just the performers themselves, but the people in the studio. I mean, I worked on the engineering team. If we were more relaxed, you're going to get a better product. If the producer's more relaxed, if everybody's more relaxed, you're just going to get a better product overall.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I want to circle back. Earlier, you were talking about looking out of over a sea of 32,000 people and seeing all the people that you knew. And, you have a very supportive following. So how do you stay engaged with that following?
I mean, honestly, for me, it's always been, I've never been big on the social media stuff. I wish I would, and I know I need to be better about that, but I just don't like doing that. But honestly, with me, I've got to know people at shows, and that's, the thing of coming up, playing bars and doing that stuff is, I'm thankful for the journey, because, I legitimately got to meet these people out in the crowd. And, after, some of them's been come watching me for 10 years, and that's why I get to do what I get to do, And whenever you get discouraged or something like that, when you have people, when you see people that have supported you and come back and see you, and the social media, they'll comment and stuff saying they're excited about that, that if you're in it for the long haul, it's definitely a roller coaster, But yeah, having people like, just getting to know them on a personal level, I feel like that's what I'm thankful for, and that's how I stay engaged with them mostly, I feel like.
So you're connecting with them at these shows and everything, which is probably the best way. You do it in person, you get to do that, and then they see you post enough on social media that lets everybody know where you're going to be and what's going on. So They come out to your shows on a regular basis. What are you hoping they take away from it?
Just hoping that they had a great time and they walked away and said, that guy, and if I'm playing acoustic or, that band, they kicked butt tonight. I want to come back and see them, and I want to support their music. I want to get behind, hopefully just have them have a good time. Really, I feel like is my biggest thing. You know, they work all week and they want to. If you're in a bar, they want to come in there and catch a buzz and dance, do whatever. But just I always try to put on a good show and sound as good as I can. And I hope that they take away a positive experience from my show. But there's been some few not so positive bar fights and things of that nature too. But yeah, I mean, for the most part,
the territory.
Oh yeah,
playing at a lot of honky tonks and stuff.
Oh, I have seen some brawls. I've been a part of a couple actually, but
well, tell us about your most crazy backstage story or behind the scenes story.
And the Post Malone thing was pretty cool. I mean, that's in terms of that's probably but something that was really neat happened a couple of weeks ago is I was heading out to Vegas for my gig out there, and I was in TSA line, and Pam Tillis, her TSA pre-check had expired, so she got all the way up there, and they made her turn around and then go back through the regular, line. And it was a busy day. It was a Tuesday. It's a heavy travel day, so she had to go all the way back to the back. And she came up and she saw I had a guitar, and she was like, "Hey, I'm Pam Tillis." She was like, "I'm having some problems," and I was like, "I know who you are," And she was just the sweetest lady, though. I got to sit there and talk with her probably about 35-40 minutes going through the TSA line, but she was just very sweet, and that's something that was just really cool. I could never, she just happened to be walking and see a guy with a guitar, and then she basically asked if she could cut in front of me because she was going to miss her flight, and I said, of course, So, but that was pretty neat just to be in a setting where you're not at a bar or something. It just kind of organically happened like that.
That is really cool. I mean, when you get to do something like that, even if it's for her to save time in a line or whatever, and you get to spend that much time with her and talk to her, I mean, she's an icon. I mean, that would be that would be awesome.
It was great, yeah. And she gave me advice and just down to earth. She wanted to know about me, how long you've been in town, and she said that she appreciated me, just a genuine person, and she sent me a message after on Instagram and said, "I made my flight. Thank you so much." So you just
that's awesome.
Really cool. She's one of the nicest people I've met in the business for sure.
We had Tommy Harding on the show, and he's a producer engineer in town, and he's worked with her a couple times. He's got nothing but good things to say. That's pretty cool. I mean, we have this thing here we call Unsung Heroes, where we take a moment to shine the light on somebody who's worked behind the scenes, somebody who may have supported you along the way. Do you have anybody you'd like to shine a little light on?
My mama, for sure. She's been my biggest supporter day one. She's stood by me thick and thin. She's been my biggest fan. She's been my biggest supporter. And she jumped in a car with me, and she drove me to Chicago to like the first year that they did The Voice.
Oh, yeah.
And drive about 8 or 9 hours, whatever that was. And she just always been supportive. She was freaking out driving in Chicago traffic, not knowing where we go. Yeah. So, but yeah, my mama definitely, I would have to say her. She's always been my biggest supporter. And, my dad's always been supportive too. And my wife, I mean, I could go on and on, but I would say the longest and biggest supporter has always been mama. So
that's great. That's what mothers are for.
Exactly. I got a good one. The best.
A big thanks to Kyle for taking the time to share his stories with us, and thank you for taking the time to hang with me here. I really do appreciate it. If you know anybody that would enjoy Kyle's story, please be sure to pass it along. You can do that and find the links to everything mentioned over at jayfranze.com/episode 79. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to The Jay Franze Show. Make sure you visit us at jayfranze.com. Follow, connect, and say hello. This episode has been brought to you by VR Knives, your source for 100% custom knives made by a true rock star. So, if you're in the market for a new piece of art, reach out to VR Knives. 407-421-5528. 407-421-5528.